Hey, good morning. We are still on chapter 26, and I'm going to go through lesson 2 and 3 today. They're pretty short. Um, Yesterday, we talked about how the peasants were unhappy because basically the emperor wasn't taking care of them. They were starving to death. Um, there was discontent. The Taiping Rebellion tried to prove its point, but ultimately failed with a whole bunch of deaths. And they're not done. There's going to be new revolutionary leaders that are going to step forward, and one of them is this guy, and his name is Sun Yat-sen. And he thought the changes were happening too slowly, and he said we got to do three things. We got to take control of the military. And remember, if you want to take over a country, you need the backing of the military. And then he says we're going to teach them the ways of democracy and let them know that, hey, we need a constitutional democracy because then you're going to be in charge of your livelihood, not the government. And so he starts preaching nationalism and increasing that thought in China. When the revolution took place, though, in 1911, it did not go well. It was not strong enough to replace the new social and political order. So it kind of bombed. Okay. No pun intended. Okay. But they're not done yet. He kind of, though, gave emergence to this guy, and his name is General Wuan Sorge, and he's the new president of the Chinese Republic, but he puts the military in control of it. So it sounds like a dictatorship when you have the military in control. And what he ultimately wanted to do is bring back imperial China. And Sun Yat-sen's like, you can't do that. We're trying to move forward and give people the power to be in control of their own livelihood, and you want to go back to the dynasty? So they're button heads is what they're doing, okay? Now, these two men, Sun Yat-sen and Wuan Sergey, need to be very careful because if they let chaos ensue, who's going to sweep in and save the day? I hope you're yelling Europe because they've done it twice. Europe seems to swoop in and stop the chaos that's happening. And so they're very careful because they don't want that to happen. Sun Yat-sen now has to defeat Wuan Sergey. He tries, he fails again, and our buddy Sun Yat-sen flees to Japan. And then Wuan is going to die in 1916. And so at this point, again, oh my goodness, China has not been strong for a very long time. And, they weakened as the Qing dynasty weakened. And then China had to pay all these war reparations in the Opium War. And they're weak. Sun Yat-sen tries, Wuan tries. And so you're going to have a very dismantled government and warlords trying to seize power in all these certain provinces. So bottom line, let's sum it up. China is a hot mess. All right, so we're going to leave China at a hot mess, and we're going to go to Japan here. I'm telling you, see, that was lesson 2. These are going quick. Lesson 3 is the rise of modern Japan, and Japan had closed itself off. I think there were only 2 countries that could trade in the port of Nagasaki. No one else could. Do I have that down here? I don't. And so in 1853, our buddy here, Commodore Matthew Perry, decides to sail for the U.S. Navy and go open up Japan. He's like, we need trading ports. Sounds a lot like the British wanting ports from China. And so he arrives in Edo Bay with 4 warships. He has a letter from President Fillmore, and the U.S. was asking Japan to treat the sailors who had shipwrecked on Japanese islands more humanely. If you were a foreigner and you were captured by the Japanese, then you were treated as criminals and put on exhibit in public cages. Here's a drawing rendering of the United States Navy communicating with Japan. Take it in, take it in. And then while they're there, hey, we might as well ask for you guys to start opening up trade with us. And so Perry comes back 6 months later with more warships and a bigger fleet. So he's got his posse behind him, and he's basically asking Japan to open up. Well, what's Japan supposed to say? If they say no, what are the warships going to do? Right? Boom, boom, boom. So, of course, they say yes. Shogunate system is collapsed, and we're going to begin this restoration movement. Okay. Ultimately, they sign a treaty where those American prisoners of war, not prisoners of war, but sailors who had shipwrecked, they were released. They open up 2 ports to the west, and they've got a relationship, U.S. and Japan. So our buddy here, Commodore Matthew Perry, very successful. And then what happens is their Meiji Restoration, and Japan's basically moving towards modernization. They have been isolated for over 100 years, I believe. And they're looking at the world like, crud, we're behind. We're behind in technology. We're behind in military techniques. We're behind. And if we don't change that, that's going to be very, very detrimental. So this is 1868. And some of the changes that were made are listed right here. So education is becoming important. The military is becoming important. Trading is becoming important. But look here, tax burden again goes to the farmers. So your poor group has to pay this tax burden. And now the emperor is a figurehead, and the real power is going to go to a prime minister and the cabinet. They're adopting Western ways, the fashion, culture, clothing, eating habits, and baseball comes into Japan. So Japan is copying Western imperialism because they're looking out going, wait a second, y'all are colonizing? Maybe we should start doing that because you guys are becoming really wealthy. And that's what they start doing is they start colonizing. I kind of look at this as they're getting stronger to fight in the world wars because their imperialistic empire is going to boom in World War II. But yeah, and the United States opened up that trade. Kind of crazy. Boom, guys, that's it. This was a short lesson. So you had 1 and 2 and 3. You can read this chapter if you want to. But tomorrow you will do a test over this. So I really hope you didn't do the test first. I think the videos can be very, very helpful in hearing me walk through the lesson. Okay. Well, my peeps, I think I'm going to go eat lunch and walk my dog. I hope you guys have a good day, guys. Until we meet again.